Welcome back to A&A. It's a little warm here these days. Heat index has been about 110. So haven't been doing a whole lot in the shop because it's not air conditioned because there's no walls. However, my 3/4 ton truck, my daily driver, the air conditioning has gotten to where it's not as cold as it used to be. I checked the pressure of the freon in the system, and it's up there. So there's doesn't have any leaks anywhere. Um, I first thought about maybe it's my vacuum pump that runs continuously, and I figured it was a cracked line somewhere. Anyway, I found the problem. There was a connection that was hanging loose, wasn't letting the vacuum pump do its thing, which on the 2008 model with the 6.4 engine, your air conditioning controls don't work off of a vacuum. The only purpose of the vacuum pump, that on some trucks you'll hear it's constantly buzzing, it's constantly running. The only job that it does is it helps to actuate your four-wheel drive um, here in the cab where you can switch, on the fly. Um, and mine hadn't been working. I've been having to get out and, of course, manually lock the hubs in. And I knew that was why, because the vacuum pump uh, wasn't creating a vacuum because I had a leak somewhere. Well, so I found the loose connection. Now that switches over great. But like I said, the AC controls, they don't operate off of a vacuum on this truck. They're electronic with a blend door actuator motor. Now, this truck has the dual climate controls, which has always puzzled me why you would have separate climate control for the passenger, which is sitting less than 2 feet from you in a very small enclosed space. Anyway, I've replaced a blend door actuator on a single climate control on one of these trucks. And this one has the dual climate control, so we're going to have two actuators. Um, and the reason I'm thinking it's going to be that is because, unlike on previous models of this truck, this particular one, the 2008, I don't know about the 2009s or anything like that, but your for your heat, there's no valve, which is also usually run by a vacuum hose. There's no valve that when you switch your heat on, it lets the engine coolant then circulate through your heater core, which that's where you get the heat from. This truck doesn't have a valve like that. This truck, your engine coolant is continually flowing through the heater core, whether you have your heat on or your AC on. The only thing that keeps the heat from blowing into the cab is the doors that directs the heat elsewhere. Um, so I'm thinking if I have a blend door motor that may be bad, it's not letting that door close completely off, and I'm getting some warm air mixed with some of the cool air, which is causing my problem. That's what I'm gonna try at first anyway, because um, I can't really think of anything else that it would be. Since I've got plenty of pressure in the air conditioning lines, um, and it was cooling great. Last year it was cooling awesome. This year it's not so much. So, and I'm hoping that it's one of the blend door motors. Anyway, that's what we're going to try. The truck has two because it's dual climate controlled. And I'll show you where those are at before I start tearing into the dash. All right, so in the 2008s, one of the blend door actuators is going to be behind this air vent right here. We have to take this bezel off. Probably gonna have to pull the radio out so we can get our hands in there. May have to pull the airbag off. I'm gonna wait about that and see, because I'd have to disconnect the battery. You have to wait 20-30 minutes for that module to discharge, and so we don't run the risk of setting off the airbag. I don't really want to get into that. Anyway, the second one, from all that I've understand and read, it's going to be down here in the bottom somewhere. So we're probably going to take this panel off. We'll take the glove compartment out, just so we can maybe get some room to shine a light or get a tool. Probably take this panel off. The bezel will come off. The radio will come out. This is a bracket from when I was doing my hauling. This was a bracket that held my tablet, and so I don't need that anymore. And the radio has to come out to get it out, so I need to get that out anyway. So what I'm gonna start doing, I'm gonna take the glove compartment out, take this bezel off, pull the radio, and then let's see what we got. I'm not sure how to get that bottom part off, but let's get started. All right, I got the bezel out, radio out, disconnected all of the wires, and don't get overwhelmed with where do the wires go back and all that. They all have their own, but one way and one place they can go in. So looks like this bottom part will be pretty easy to take off. I got a couple of screws up here. Those were holding the bezel on as well, so I took them off. So these two will come off, and then and the rest of it may just pull off. I am going to have to take the airbag out because I'm going to have to get my hand in here, because this piece of ductwork right here is going to have to come out, because the blend door actuator is back behind there. So this got to come out. The only way I can get it out is to get this off. So I'm going to disconnect the battery cables and let it sit, and let that airbag module discharge. Give it about 30 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I can go ahead and get this bottom part off. All right, I got the airbag out. I am now wringing wet with sweat, because like I said, it hasn't cooled off here much, and it's probably 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening, and it still feels like it's 100 degrees. Anyway, the airbag does have, or what you were looking at, the panel, it does have 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4 that you take out, and you would think you would just pull the thing out then, but that's not the case. Go underneath where your glove compartment was, and there's 2 10mm bolts right there, and there's 2 10mm bolts right there. You have to get those out. One of them is kind of behind this air box, and so you have to get a wrench for that. So I got that out. Now, like I said, this piece of ductwork here, which is this, it's got to come out, but it is held in by a screw that is hiding right here. See my finger? It's right back here. That screw's got to come out so that then I can push this ductwork, push it back, get it off of this so I can pull this out, and the top blend motor is back behind there. So that's what we're after. Get this screw out over here, which I'm hoping this will do it if I can fish this in there and get it, get it going to where I can get my fingers in there. But you can see it. It's flashlight here. You see the bottom of it right there. The top of it, there's the top, and it's holding the plastic ductwork. It's holding that plastic ductwork in place. So that little screw, that's the bottom of it. I can reach up in there and get that started and get it off. Then I can push that duct back and then get this elbow that I need to get out in order to reach the top blend motor. So I'm gonna try to get that bolt out. All right, so I got the little bolt out up there, and I've got the duct work shoved back, and I got this elbow out. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the hardest part of this job is gonna be getting this elbow back in. It sits in there like that. That sits in there easy, but then the upper part of that ductwork right there has to snap over this, and I had to get a little tool to pry with and get up under here and pry this out. It wasn't easy. Getting it back in there is going to be a pretty good challenge, I'm quite sure. Now, I was not remembering correctly. I thought the blend motor was up top here somewhere. It's directly behind, and it's kind of dark. Let me get a light so you can see. So if we go through that vent to where we took that elbow off, and we go, sorry for the shaking, and we go right behind here. So if I can get you back there. There it is. That's it right there. Little screw on each side. There's one right here and there's one over there. Get them screws out. There'll be a little pigtail done plug. We'll drop the new one in, but let me get this out and we'll take a look at it. But if you can see, come on, light. Okay. You see that corner of it right there? You see the little cross? So the little motor has the outline of the cross, and the little cross is molded into the ductwork. So it helps you line it up, helps you get it in the right spot. All right, let me get that out and I'll get you back. All right. Wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but this is the old one. It's a bit of a challenge to try to squeeze it from out there between this bar and this duct here, but we got it out. Got the new one right here. Let's open up and make sure it looks exactly the same. You always want to compare your parts. All right, here's the new one beside the old one. Appears to be exactly the same. So we'll drop this new one in, see if we can't get some screws started. What I have noticed on the one I have replaced before, if you'll notice back here on the back, see, this isn't like, all the teeth aren't in the same, they aren't spaced out evenly. You got a flat spot right there. Well, I say it's a flat spot, it's like it's missing a tooth. So if you'll notice, say on this new one, that flat spot is pointing up towards where the pigtail plugs in. Well, let's see how the old one came out. See, it's kind of off to the side here. It's pointing kind of this way. It's okay. It's not a major deal. You don't want to stress about that. What you do want to do is when you drop the new one in, kind of rotate it left to right until it, till it drops all the way in. Because those notches are going to have to line up, and it's okay if you have to turn it this way or that, because when it does go all the way in, you're engaged with the door, the blend door. And then as you turn this to make sure that, you know, your little tabs are going in where they're supposed to be, and that your screw holes line up, as you turn that, you're actually turning the blend door. You don't want to worry about where this is. It's just when you drop this in, it's going to be kind of wobbly because it's not engaged all the way. Turn it a little to the left, a little to the right. When it drops in all the way, you're engaged with the blend door. Then rotate it until where it goes to where it's supposed to be, with the little cross through there, and your two screw holes should be lined up then. So I'm gonna drop the new one in, and then I'm gonna call it a day, because it is hot, it's starting to get dark, and we'll save that bottom one for later, because I've never done the bottom one before, and this truck having the carpet and stuff, I don't know what all I'm gonna have to pull back before I find that dude. All right, it's about 2 days later, and it's still hot. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and the heat index is already over 100. So I got my barrel shop fan on, trying to create a little breeze, but it's a hot breeze, so not sure how well that's gonna work out. Anyway, so last time we left our hero, he had dropped in the new, can't see it, it's too dark, blend door control motor in there. One little tip is that once you get it dropped in there between the bar and that plastic piece, it's going to sit in there something like this right here, where you line up the little cross in the corner, then your other bolt hole back here will line up. What I would recommend is, when you're trying to, it's just going to be like wobbling around on top. Take your salute finger and let it rest on this shaft right here, so that you can feel for where the other, the female part where this goes. You can feel with the tip of your finger, and you can line them up. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to find it, because you can't see back there, but you can feel around. So if you would just keep your finger here, find the end of that blend door shaft, to where you can at least, line it up on top. And then when you do, turn it a little bit this way, a little bit this way, until it does go down in there. All right, once you engage with it, once the gears have engaged, then you can turn it to where this lines up. And once you get that to line up, it'll go on down. Go ahead and put this screw in. Now, you'll already have attached your pigtail. You'll attach your pigtail before you drop this in there behind. So this is already attached, and once that lines up and it drops on down, put that screw in and tighten it on down. Then you'll have to do it strictly by feel. Get the other screw, and it'll go back here and put it in. Now, the only thing I used for taking those little screws out, they're going to be 5/16, and I used some of these extensions. One of them shorter. One of them you can get with the shorter one, and one of them you can get with the longer one. But there is enough room in there, and you'll need the extension, because you're having to go over this and down to the little motor. So there's enough room in here to do that with. You just feel around for it. Try not to drop the screw. I did. I dropped one of them, but it's no big deal. If you'll feel under here, there's a piece of metal, and that screw will rest up on top of the piece of metal, so you can fish it back out. All right, so for the bottom one, that's the job for today. And I did take the cup holder stuff off, but I didn't really gain a lot by doing that, because there's this plastic piece that's, it's kind of like it's all over the whole thing, and I didn't gain a lot by taking that off. So if I look down, if I can kind of get under here and look, there it is right there. Got my finger on it. That's it. Now, there's one screw right there, but there's another screw on the other side. Now, how in the world we get to that? Ain't quite sure yet. This is a piece of ductwork. You see, there's your little foot vent right there. It comes out on your feet for the heat and stuff. I'm not sure how to get access to all that. I'm gonna have to pull this carpet back, I believe. At least enough to where I can, you know, tell what has to move where. All right, so I pulled the carpet back just a little bit, and that's really easy. You pop this little threshold off, take this little corner piece off, and then there's this little piece that got one of those little push clips right there. You just pull that out. This is the plastic little foot duct right here, and there's our, if we can get this wire out of the way, there's our blend door motor right there. Screw here, but then there's going to be a screw on the other side, which I can't even put my finger on right now because this plastic duct is in the way, and it looks like it just slips on right there, and I can't feel any fasteners in it. But I've tried to just pull it out and it won't just pull off, so just give me a little screwdriver and I'm going to try to pry it in there and try to help it slip off. Okay, I was able to get a screwdriver in there and pry this off, and let's see, it was in there like this. No, it was in there like this. And yes, there was something holding it on. It's a screw right there. And how in the world you're supposed to get that, I have no idea. I'm gonna try to get that screw out, maybe with a little wrench, only because I'm not gonna be able to reattach. I'm not gonna be able to reattach the little piece of ductwork with that screw, and I don't want it to interfere with me reinstalling the piece of ductwork. Once I can get this back into where it's supposed to go, it's going to be wedged in there. There's nowhere it can go, but I don't want that screw to interfere with me reinstalling. So I'm going to try to get that out with my little open end. First, let's get this blender door motor out. All right, so I just learned something that's probably going to be pretty valuable to the rest of you who are trying this yourself. The bottom one, there is no room to, once you engage this with the bottom shaft of the blend door, there's no room to twist and turn it to get this notch to line up. When I took it out of the package, you see this arrow on the casing? That arrow was pointing directly towards this flat spot where you're missing a tooth. So there was no way for me to twist and turn to get it to line up, because this is the way the old one looked when I took it out of the truck. This flat spot was over here on this left side, not lined up with the arrow. So I had the bright idea. I said, I'll reconnect my battery cable. I will reconnect the plugs for the HVAC, and then I will operate the control until I can move it around to basically where it is right now. Funny thing, And very fortunate was I hooked the battery cable up, plugged in the little control panel, and then I rotated the ignition key so I could, you know, operate the stuff. But as soon as I turned the ignition key, this thing went immediately to where it's at right now without me doing anything to it, which is where the old one was. Why or how, I ain't got a clue. Let's see if I can get it installed now. Should be able to. Let's see. All right, on the bottom one, so it didn't line up exactly. And like I said, there's not enough room to twist and turn it. So get in mind, you know, which direction that gear needs to turn in order for it to line up. Pull it back out. Reconnect your control panel, which I'm not even sure if that's necessary. I did. But when you put your key in ignition, don't crank the truck, just turn it on. That little gear will start turning, because every time you start your truck, those blend door motors reset. So that blend door motor immediately started searching to reset. So while it's turning, when it gets to the spot that you feel like it's going to line up correctly, just turn your key off, it'll stop. So that's what I did. I stuck the key in, it started turning the direction I needed it, and I just turned the key off. I thought it was pretty close. Put it in there, lined up perfectly on the first try. That was probably sheer luck, but I knew about where it needed to be by looking at the old one. So when the new one got to that point, I just turned the key off, it stopped, she was lined up, popped it in, 2 screws. The one in the front's easy, the one in the back, I just had to get it with the little open-end wrench, or boxed-in wrench. So got it in. The little screw that was actually holding this in place, I've gotten it out. There's no possible way on earth to put this in there and then get that screw back in there. It's not going to happen. This was probably attached to all the, you know, your air box in there. It was probably attached to all that when the air box was installed, because there's supposedly a very simple way to remove this entire dash, including the steering wheel, steering column, at least the upper part of it. There's about 10 bolts, and this entire thing comes out, which gives you much better access to what's behind it, such as blend door motors and, you know, air boxes and stuff like that. But I didn't want to go to that extreme. That's why I did it this way. I knew the top one was fairly straightforward. I'd never done the bottom one before, but now that I've done that, this is going to be your only real challenge on the bottom, because I couldn't figure out why it wasn't just popping out, and I couldn't see this fastener in there. So so it sits in there like this, and yeah, I did split that. I'm gonna have to put a little glue on that and some tape, but couldn't see that that's what was holding that in there. But if you pull hard enough, grab this end, you know, you'll be grabbing it from the underside, because that's all you can reach. And you pull hard enough, you will pull through that, you will pull that little bolt through that hole right there, and it'll come on off. And yeah, you'll probably split it right there in that seam, but it's okay. I'm gonna put some tape on that. I'll slide this back on and slide it under there, and it's pinched under there, so you know there won't be any need for that screw at this point. All right, we got our plastic duct back in. Wrapped some electrical tape around the end where it was split there. I wrapped it extra tight so that it would fit snug, and it does fit. It's really snug. Plus that we can't really see it, but yeah, we can't see it back there where that screw was. Anyway, the little hangy down part that had the screw on it that engaged the you know, a little divot in this. It's seated and everything. So this is in there really firm, just as firm as it was. But to get it in, if you've ever used a shoehorn, you're gonna have to use something like that to get it in, because the little hanging down part that had the screw in it, you know, that we couldn't see in order to get this out, that little hanging down part is going to obstruct getting this in there. And this plastic junk, you know, it's flexible when you don't want it to be, and it's stiff when you don't want it to be. So first I tried a piece of cardboard to put in there to help slide this in, you know, underneath that hanging down part. Didn't work. Cardboard's too flexible. So I ran my screwdriver in there, and to where I could then slide my duct, you know, along the bottom of the screwdriver, because I had the blade of my screwdriver underneath the hanging down part. So the plastic slid along the screwdriver until we got past the hanging down part. Took the screwdriver out and then just manhandled it in there, and she is in there taut. Got the carpet back. There's our nice vent. Trim pieces back in. Now comes the part that I'm figuring is going to be the hardest, is putting that little duct elbow right here. Hey, caramba. Alright, let's get started. Okay, we got our elbow back in. Snaps pretty easy at the top. Once you get the top, once you can get the top over the elbow, you know, it's got that, can't really see because it's dark, but it's got a little snap, you know, a ridge it snaps into. The challenge is getting the bottom part over the bottom and getting the top part over the top. I would say the first thing you do is work the circular portion that attaches to your vent, work it in first and bring it out through this hole right here. Then you can, as you need to, move it back to try to line up the top piece and the bottom piece. There's no easy way to do it, because this plastic, you got to be careful or you'll cut your hand. I didn't this time, which is a miracle in itself, but there's not going to be an easy way to do it, but you're going to have to manhandle it. But the only recommendation I would have is work the round part in through this hole first, turn it, bring the round part out, and then you can push it back as you're maneuvering the pieces together. It's going to be a challenge, but it can be done. I just did it. Then you'll want to go back, and if you remember, there's a bolt. There's a bolt in here, right up here, that holds the end of this top piece. You're going to go ahead and put that in because it holds everything good and firm together. And then from here on out, we're just going to be putting bits and pieces back. We'll start with the last thing we took off, which is this. Then I believe we can put this, then the airbag, and the glove box. It's my story. That's what I'm gonna stick to. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, we got our cup holder panel assembly in there. There's 2 screws. If you open this up, you got 2 screws in there. There'll be 1 screw on the corner over here, and then the other screws that hold it in will be put in when we put our bezel back in. And as you see, I've gotten my wires connected to it. The wires that you have left, These will go towards this that gets, you know, put back in that corner. This one will go towards this, which is your auxiliary audio input. Everything else is going to get plugged in. This one dangling here, that's going to go to the trailer brake control, which gets put in this bottom part. So it all plugs in one way, so it's not like you can plug this one in where that one went, because they've got locator tabs and they're all shaped a little differently. You can't plug one in where it doesn't go. Oh yeah, don't forget to put your radio in first before you go to putting this bezel up there. Radio goes in first, because you got to be able to bolt it in. Don't ask me how I know that. I'm just, you know, making an observation. Alright, got the bezel in. Everything's fitting good. Got that old ugly bracket off that I installed for holding my tablet and stuff up there. So it's looking much better. Got all the little doodads, accessories in there. Next is to put the airbag in. And to take it out, there was 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, number 10 bolts that was holding that in from the bottom. Airbag's back in. I have 7 screws left. 4 go into the bottom lip of this cover that's over the airbag, and the other 3 will go to the bottom of the glove box. Almost done. Okay, we got everything buttoned up, plugged in, got the truck running. I've got both climate controls as low as they'll go to 60, and I'm getting cool air, but this truck just a couple of years ago would really throw out ice cubes. I'm not quite seeing the ice cubes right now, but it's cooler than what it was, most definitely. But I may need to check to see. I know the last time I checked the level of Freon, which was about a week or 2 ago, it seemed to have possibly a little too much. I'm not sure if I ever got some air conditioning serviced the past couple of years. I don't remember, but you know, that's not saying much when you get my age. So anywho, it's definitely cooler. May need to investigate on the pressure of the Freon, but definitely cooler. Just a couple of notes you'll need as far as the sizes of the little sockets you're gonna need to get all the screws out. All the little screws that came out of these panels, all of those are a 9/32 1/4-inch drive, 9/32 standard. I don't know what it is in metric. I'm sure they're supposed to be metric, but the 9/32 fits perfect. That'll take all those little screws out that go into the little panels and whatnot. The screws for your blend door actuators, you know, each one has 2 screws. Those are 5/16. And the bolts for the airbag, you know, up under the bottom there, 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Those are 10mm. And that's really the only tools you'll need. You know, the 1/4-inch drive and a short extension and a medium extension, a flashlight so you can see halfway what you're doing, and other than that, you can do it. Carpet's back, all the trim panels, weather stripping's back, except for the smudgy fingerprints I'm going to have to clean off. Very pleased. This was a successful repair. Now I will I'll try to see if I have too much Freon in the system. That too can keep it from cooling, especially on a really hot day, which today the heat index is 110. I've looked, and so with that high temperature, you know, your coolant, your Freon air conditioning coolant, you know, expands to the point to where now your system's not effective. It's got too much in there, so there's not a lot of capacity for cooling going on. It's too full. Maybe the case here. I don't know. We'll investigate that later. But I wanted to share a couple things with you. Your Motorcraft part, and you'll want Motorcraft for these because you only want to do this one time. Trust me. So there's the part number for the blend door actuator motor. The top and the bottom are the same. This is for the 2008 F250, F350, probably several others. One of the old ones I took in the shop, and I took it apart, and I'll take you in there and show you what I found and what I've seen and heard as to what the problem with them is. All right, this is one of the old ones that come out. So that's of course your little electric motor. Got some little plastic gears. This one, you see the little fingers on there? Those fingers are making contact there. Apparently that's what gets worn out. The little fingers wear in the groove or on that little strip so many times that eventually it stops making good contact, and that's where the problem happens. Anyway, don't know what the new one looks like, so I'm definitely not going to break apart a new one. Anyway, that's her. It's not much to the little thing. It's the little contacts is what goes bad. Anyway, thought you might find it interesting or not. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're having a problem with your blend doors, hopefully you can use something that you saw in the video today. If you enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and joined the ANA Nation, I would recommend you do that today. It's bound to be something here you might could use if you have a truck, car, and you're a do-it-yourself person. If you'd like to see something you haven't seen, let me know. I'll be glad to try to accommodate that. Y'all have a good day, and just remember, above all else, be kind to one another. See you next time.